What what's going on, guys? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. Watty Glen are the Derry Senior Football Champions. They've won back-to-back Derry Senior Football titles. They have beaten Slaughtneil by a scoreline of 112 to 7 points. My name is Aaron here on GAA Fan TV, and this is the instant match reaction. A huge win for Watty Glen, who win back-to-back Derry Senior Football titles. And it was a game that was never in doubt, let's be honest, from start to finish. Slaughtneil didn't score their first point until around about the 23rd, 24th minute. And they struggled to get into the game. There was no real urgency about them, I felt, to be perfectly honest. And Watty Glen, you know, what an achievement for them. They obviously hadn't won a Derry Senior Football Championship going into 2021, and now they've won back-to-back titles in Derry. It's a huge achievement. And I was watching this game on Derry GAA TV, great stream, so fair play to them. And look, I mean, it wasn't the most entertaining, scintillating game of football you'd see all year. Probably not. But then again, you know, both sides have been known to be quite defensive at times. And I think seeing the way this game played out, I don't think it was too much of a surprise. You know, but Glen were certainly the side who took the game to Slaughtneil in more ways than one. Like, they hit the opening 5 points of the game, you know, all of which without reply. Conor Glass hitting a wonderful score early on. Michael Warnock, who won man of the match on Derry GAA TV, I believe, and I thought he was very good as well, playing in that centre-back position. You know, 2 brilliant points from him, some brilliant turnovers at different times in the game. And Glen, in fairness, like, from watching the game, you could see the press up on Slaughtneil from the kickouts. You know, Slaughtneil going short a lot of the time on kickouts, but Glen, just the sort of energy and intensity of their press, you know, they just forced Slaughtneil into so many unforced errors. You know, they caused them so many issues when Slaughtneil were in possession. And it was a strange performance from Slaughtneil. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, I really expected a lot more from them. Haven't watched any Derry GAA games this year, to be honest. So I don't know if, you know, obviously I presume this is a once-off. They've obviously gotten to the Derry final and look fairly comfortable in doing so. But, you know, apart from Shane McGuigan, they didn't really get much bodies forward. Like, Brendan Rodgers was overly defensive a lot of the time, kind of stayed in a mainly defensive position in at wing back. Like, there was no real urgency from Slaughtneil getting forward. And in possession, I just thought they were far too comfortable. They didn't really try work much opportunities or scores. And it was only really when the game looked beyond them that they actually really started to turn it up in the game and try to make something out of it. You know, just 2 points kicked in the first half. Shane McGuigan scoring Slaughtneil's first point on the 18th minute. Their first point from play didn't come till right on half-time from Padraig Cassidy with a lovely score from the outside of the boot. And, you know, Glen were just very comfortable. Like, they just never really ever looked like losing this game. 7 points to 2 up at half-time. You're thinking maybe in the second half, Slaughtneil might change it up a bit. You know, they might push Brendan Rodgers maybe further up the pitch, get some of their shooters, like Chris Bradley maybe on the ball, but they just didn't really do so. And they seem to lack real energy or intensity in their team. And, you know, from what I've heard from reading match previews and everything else, was that Slaughtneil were surely going to be a lot more fresher coming into this game. You know, obviously a lot of the time they're playing hurling as well, so sometimes that can play a big impact on Slaughtneil. You know, and obviously they did win the Derry hurling title from what I remember, but, you know, obviously they didn't really look fresh at all, or I don't even know if it wasn't even that they looked fresh. They just didn't really cause any problems. You know, maybe kicking a few balls inside into McGuigan, mixing it up a bit. But they just looked far too routine and casual, as if they were winning the game, when in reality they were, you know, 5, 6, 7 points down at different times in the match. But in fairness to Glen, you know, a lot of different scores on the day. Like Emmett Bradley, very good as well. He got on the score sheet. Conlon McGuckian was very good with 2 points. Jack Doherty had a very good game, I felt, as well. Scored a big point in the second half when Slaughtneil had hit 3 without reply, so it looked like maybe Glen might have been in a bit of a spot of bother during that moment in time. But, you know, he stood up. Cathal Mulholland 1-1 on the day. He gets himself the goal. Bit of a, you know, I wouldn't say lucky goal, because, you know, Watty Glen put the ball in there and sort of worked the opportunity. In fairness, Emmett Bradley looked more so that he was going for the points rather than looping a ball in there. But we've seen, how many times have we seen this in Gaelic football, where, you know, one of your midfielders or your shooters goes from a point from distance, it drops in, very hard for the goalkeeper to deal with. It bounces around all over the place, and with a bit of luck, it can end up in the back of the net. We've seen it happen countless amounts of times in various club championships already, and we've seen it in the All Ireland Senior Football Championship down the years as well at inter-county level. Bit of pinball, ball bounces around all over the place, and Cathal Mulholland gets the final touch from what they were saying in commentary. And from there, it's game over. They're 8 points in front. Slaughtneil did have a goal chance from Padraig Cassidy, more of a snapshot really than a clear out and out goal chance. But fair play to Glen. Excellent defensively. Michael Warnock was brilliant. Ryan Dugan in a fullback, very very good game from him, I felt as well. And from a Slaughtneil perspective, very very disappointing. But Glen looking very very good, and they're certainly going to be contenders for the Ulster Championship in most people's opinion. They're certainly going to be up there. They're going to be playing the winners of Carrickmore and Errigal Kieran, obviously from the Tyrone final. Watty Graham's Glen versus Errigal Kieran. That would be, that is a game certainly to get the popcorn out and dig your nails into. I mean, that would be an absolute cracker of a game in the Ulster Senior Football Championship. Corin says here that Emmett Bradley start for Glen. He did start, scored a point as well, looked very good. Thought he was very, very impressive. Very good performance from him. And Conor Glass as well, gets the opening score. But again, dictating possession in midfield, slowing the game down, picking out passes, just an all-around very, very good performance from Conor Glass as well. Watty Graham's Glen going to win the Ulster title. I'm sure that's going to be the big focus now. They obviously lost to Kilcue last year, who obviously went on to win the All-Ireland. Playing the winners of the Tyrone Championship in the next round is not going to be easy. I don't think Slaughtneil ever gave them much problems in this game. And I'm sure if it is an Errigal Kieran or a Carrickmore, to be fair, I'm sure they're going to cause them a lot more problems than what Slaughtneil did today, because Slaughtneil were fairly toothless in attack, to be perfectly honest, other than Shane McGuigan, who hit some fine scores. But other than that, they didn't really seem to have much outlet in their attack at all, to be perfectly honest. So you'd give Glen a fair chance, but as we've seen in Ulster, it's an absolute minefield at inter-county level and at club level as well. Crossmaglen leading there at the minute. They'll be a serious team, I'm sure of it. You've obviously got Kilcue already in there. The Tyrone champions, Donegal champions. It's going to be an absolute minefield. Make no mistake about that. And certainly watching the Ulster Championship this year is going to be very, very entertaining. We'll wrap this up here. If you could smash the like button, subscribe as well if you haven't already. I don't know what happened there. For some reason, it said my mic had plugged out. But yeah, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. There will be a podcast out later reviewing all the weekends, club action in both football and hurling. Certainly plenty to discuss and plenty to break down. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in, and yeah, I'll be going live at 9 p.m. So see you all later.